So just kind of hang out a second. We'll get the live. Um, uh, all right, here we go. There we go.
Are you in here? Okay. I'm going to shut the door and put Hobo in here.
All right.
Sorry about that.
Yep, you're fine.
If I go outside, my old mama cat follows me out, and I didn't want to get out. She can't stand for me to be in a different room than her.
All right, we got about 10 more seconds.
Okay, that person just drove down the road playing mariachi music. Fantastic.
All right, guys. Tonight we have Glockshooter and a very special guest with us this evening. His name is Misha. I don't know if you guys have heard of him, but he's kind of a big deal. But anyway, we're going to have Glock introduce himself, and then after Glock wraps up, then we'll have Misha introduce himself. And then we will be underway. So if you guys have any questions you would like to ask, make sure to ask them in the comment section, and then we'll get the conversation rolling down the road. All right, go ahead and Glock and introduce yourself, and then we'll talk to Misha.
Hey guys, this is Glockshooter79 tonight amongst a couple buddies. Have fun talking about the AK basically. So if you guys want to check me out, it's Glockshooter79.
All right, Misha, if you want to introduce yourself, just kind of let these guys know, just in case they've never heard of you.
Sure. Yeah, this is the first time I've ever tried to do a live stream, and by special, he meant like special ed, that kind of thing. So there's that. And just to let you know, I can hear Zeke fine, but I think Glockshooter and I, because we're split up amongst different things, I have a little hard time hearing him. So if I say, hey, and what's that? No, I'm not. In fact, my grandfather. It's just connections. But yeah, Misha from Mishaco, and I really do go by Misha online. It's a middle name thing that I started using 2 decades ago online, and I don't like change.
Peter K asks right off the bat, does Misha do live streams? And he says he's proud of you and thinks you're awesome.
Okay. Well, obviously I'm doing a live stream now. This is the first one, and to be honest, I asked Jay if he wanted to join in tonight, but he's kind of not a big fan of lots of people, so he declined politely and said have fun. So I did invite him to come in because, to be fair, Jay does a heck of a lot with the channel. So I feel like sometimes people don't realize how much he does, and he definitely is half at least. As far as the other stuff, thanks. I'm not really good at compliments, but thanks.
All right. So just kind of a real quick thing. We wanted to kind of have a variety of topics today, and uh, got some weather coming through. So if the stream is a little wonky, it might be on my end. So, give me just a second.
It could be
here.
mine too, because I don't know if you can hear the wind, but it's about
Yeah.
25 miles an hour wind here, and storms on and off.
Yeah, it's kind of like circling through. Yeah, you'll probably get the worst part of it here in just a few hours or so.
Yay!
So I looked at the radar right before, and I'm like, I'm turning my work phone off. No, I didn't do that, just in case my boss is listening. All right, so basically what we're going to do is we're going to kind of try to stick to a topic, and the reason for that is because, we don't want to, we want to move from one topic to the next, and that way we can cover a lot of topics, I guess. Just kind of flesh out some of our thoughts on some variants or types of AKs, and I kind of want to keep it on AKs tonight, but if you guys want to ask other questions, Misha knows a lot more about other rifles than I do, so I'm kind of peg-holed into AKs. But right off the bat, a couple of subscribers emailed me asking what your favorite variant of the AK is, whether RPK or AK-74, AKM, what have you.
Okay, asking me or asking Glock?
Well, actually, all of us, but I think
Okay.
I'll just start with you.
I'll let you two go first.
My personal favorite is the RPK, the traditional RPK, the stamped Russian style RPK. Glock?
I'm gonna say a Type 3 just due to my SLR 100H AK 55 clone.
Okay.
I've been blessed to own. Say Type 3 mil for now.
I'm a little surprised he didn't say anything Zastava, but he and I have talked about the 100H at great length. So I'm not surprised about that either. Ooh, one single. Oh. This is me. I have a hard time choosing. Let's say. Let me ask you this one question: military variant or civilian variant?
It doesn't matter. Just
Okay.
Just whatever feels
Okay,
best to you.
I'm going to throw this out there. What's popping into my mind, the SGL 3194, just because I think the AK-74M was really a great evolution, but mostly because I never imagined we would see anything like that in the U.S.
Excellent. Well, speaking of variants, as far as the variants are concerned, which do you think is, which do you guys think is the greatest step up in the AK, or which ones do you think were like a step back? Like, they started out with a stamped receiver, then they moved to a milled, then they went back to stamped after they figured out the stamping. So, I mean, do you see the milled as a step backwards or a step forward? And then, just kind of, I don't know, I guess we can flesh this discussion out a little bit as it kind of goes.
Well, I definitely don't think the milled versus stamped. I mean, I think going to the stamped in 59, the AKM. Now, the original stamped was a good idea, but it was a little ambitious for the time, so I don't blame them for going to the milled. But I think going back to the stamped once they knew what the heck they were doing was a good idea from a production and a weight thing. Milled have some benefits, but most of the benefits are not really tangible to a military.
Yeah, I gotcha. What do you think about that, Glock?
Well, I kind of agree. So, as a personal just shooter, yes, the Yugoslavian variants probably interest me the most, just because there's so many curiosities, and that's kind of what draws me to the AK is the curio of all of it, right? But I enjoy shooting some milled rifles a little better, just because a lot of them, the good ones are really smooth. But what's interesting is remembering back to Misha's interview with the guy from WBP, where he basically said, look, these military guys just want the cheapest rifle that they can use and get the job done. So I guess for militaries, I can see where it'd be stamped, but me as just a personal shooter here, probably a milled.
Okay. Well, for me, I kind of agree with both of you. I mean, there's not really there's not really much we can really hammer more into that. I think that if you look at it as if the stamped original version never existed, the milled was obviously the king of the hill. If you're only looking at like the stiffness of a gun and the machining and everything that goes into it, they did that because they had to at the time. So I mean, it was out of necessity that they had to do that.
I
So.
will point this out, and it's only because I had a conversation with a customer just 2 days ago who was trying to debate between an Arsenal and another stamped gun. I think it might have been a Wasser. Anyway, when you're a military, one benefit of a stamped, if your gun loses headspace, if something happens to the locking mortices in the front trunnion, take your trunnion in. With a mill gun, if that happens, your whole receiver is essentially toast.
Yeah.
From a military stand. You know what's funny? If a country throws away their AK, there's always 10 people lined up to pick it right up off the ground. I mean, there are how many reports from our guys in Afghanistan and Iraq that find AKs that are still actively being used that are dating back to the 50s and even, first production year. I mean, it happens. So they're holding up pretty dang well. How many AR-15s from the 60s are still running strong?
Yeah. Uh-oh. A couple of the guys said that the stream's buffering a little bit, so I'm going to have to...
That's just on YouTube's end.
Is it on YouTube's end? All right. Yeah, because, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm still... I mean, I'm showing as I'm still good. I'm still golden. All right, let's see. I'm personally not a big fan of AK pistols. I just think they're stupid looking. But, that's just me. I don't mind SBR style AKs, but the practicality I feel of an AK that is a pistol variant is just kind of moot to me. What do you guys think about pistols? Misha, go on that one.
Well, I used to think they were kind of a little bit of a novelty until these modern braces came out, and now they remind me of little PDWs. So I went from kind of staying away from them to now they're one of my favorite things with the new braces.
Okay.
Yeah, I have to agree. I think braces, in fact, I just posted on the AK files today, someone had asked the oft-repeated question about pistol caliber carbines. And, I think the brace has revitalized short-barreled everything. And I was an early buyer of the Draco when it came in, as well as the Champion 2007, which was the 220D version. And, that thing was crud. But, if I'd had braces back then, it might have changed the game. I think the one that changed my mind was the Sam 7K. How cool that turned out, and even having a modern-looking brace, while it might look out of place on, say, a Draco, if you're going for that classic PM90 short look, it looks perfectly fine on an Arsenal gun. So, it's become one of my favorite little shooters.
Yeah, and I dare I say this, but some of the like the modern versions of the AK, and we can get into this a little bit later, but as far as pistols. As far as the pistols are concerned, I think that with the modern pistol braces, it kind of saves them. Just a quick word here. On my end, it looks fine. Everything is fine on my end. It's all on YouTube, so I am recording this as well. So if something happens in that category on YouTube's end and something happens there, we've got it. So don't worry about that, guys. We're fine on that.
Well, this is getting close on 9 p.m. Central on a Saturday night, so I could imagine that YouTube is
throttling
pretty hopping.
Yeah. No, it. A lot of times,
No, you're right.
yeah, a lot of times we have noticed in our measly little end of YouTube that YouTube will intentionally kick the stream off, and then they'll put it back up. It's like Glock. Just the other day, you started in on something that was pretty, I guess, hot topic. I guess, and what ended up happening was you went on a rant, and you were just talking like bam, 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 hit, and all these points. We didn't see anything. YouTube didn't tell you it was buffering, and then once the video got done rendering, you can't see the buffering. So, just
Right, and what's going to happen this time though is since Zeke's recording it on his computer, if YouTube destroys this stream, we're still going to have it as a playback. Zeke's going to upload his master, and you guys will be able to listen to it tomorrow. Worst case scenario.
Yeah, worst case, yep. I'm also gonna put this on full 30 too. Whether it ends up being partially a train wreck as far as people saying, "Hey, I can't. It's buffering." Blah blah blah. But then there again, Misha and I are kind of in the same storm front, so it's.
Yep. Yeah, you're coming through pretty clear to me. There's been a little bit of stutter, a little bit of the echo can, but nothing bad. You haven't cut out for more than a second on my end, so.
Yeah. All right, so we've already.
Ironically, you for a second right there.
Yeah. Let's see here. So the pistol, we just talked about pistol braces, so we can cut that out.
Oh, this is something. Peter has a question here that Misha can answer. He says, what about the Hellpup Polish pistol from Pioneer? Now, I'm going to suggest you go back and watch Misha's Pioneer videos, but do you have anything to add on Pioneer, Misha, their Hellpup?
Yes, I do. After all that went down, and I kind of ripped the gun apart to show it inside in the video. It stayed in pieces in the corner for about 3 months. I probably stepped on it and walked over it 100 times. I literally didn't want to think. Here's the thing. Okay, they were importing under IO. We all know about IO.
Yep.
They were telling everyone, hey, look, we were operating at the lowest common denominator point price. We can do better. We can do better. We just, we're going to do our own thing now. We'll make it better. Okay, cool. They said they were going to do forged trunnions, blah, 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 make a better gun. And the guns came in looking pretty darn good. And their 922R, their whole compliance thing was pretty straightforward, how to make them work. So it started off good. But, boy, when people call them the IO of Europe, they're not kidding. It wasn't even the fact that the gun shit the bed on Rob, who I really legitimately worried about because Rob's a friend, been a great guy. And, I actually offered to take that gun back and give him a full refund because he insisted on buying it, by the way. He wouldn't take a freebie, so, good on him.
Yeah.
But, he wanted to basically torture test it to the ground, literally. But the way they responded beforehand, they were all on board. They knew Rob was getting the rifle. They were saying all this stuff. As soon as it didn't go their way, instead of doing the right thing like other companies we've seen, kind of say, oh, what's going on, they completely threw everyone under the bus. Rob, me, Centerfire, everyone. And that, it was more their corporate response that made everyone shake their head in disgust than the gun itself. And this Hellpup is made by the same people. I have a feeling you can take 100 and they'll all have little different issues. Maybe some will run great. Some will have the same issues. Some will have different ones. It's just, I like doing business with companies that are upstanding, and they showed themselves not to be upstanding, and so that was that, and that's why Centerfire washed their hands of them.
I mean, there's always the whole story on everything, and that pretty much summed that up. I mean, I heard bits and pieces, but that kind of wrapped all that up. So that definitely cleared the air on that one. Because I was wondering that myself. Because, when I heard IO bantered around, I heard that they started throwing a little hissy fit, and I, that
To be
doesn't.
fair, IO and Pioneer did split ways years ago. The newer guns are imported by PAC, Pioneer Arms Corp, USA. So they are different companies, but Pioneer's attitude, they seem to have taken a lead from IO and how they deal with things. And
Yeah.
That's their business. They can run it however they want, but they're not going to get very far in this community because it's all based on respect. And if you want respect, the first thing you don't do is diss Rob.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, just so everybody knows, this is the Dis Rob channel, so or chat tonight. So well, I've been accused of dissing Rob. Rob and I get along, but the problem is when somebody, when I'm asking a question, some people see me asking a question as me attacking, and people, I don't know whether that's just them being closed-minded and not wanting to have a discussion or what, but I don't know. Rob's a smart guy, and he and I have had plenty of discussions, and he's a smart guy.
Yeah.
So, I mean...
as of you and I, we politely disagreed about the Palmetto State thing and that AK Files thread just most a week ago. We can disagree. That's fine. I don't know of a friend I've had for more than 2 days that I haven't disagreed with.
Yeah, and that's part of being human. Let's dare I say it? We just went through, Glock. How long were we on last night talking to each other? 5-6 hours. We were talking about.
Oh, we were arguing good.
Oh my goodness! This is my Patreon stream. Nobody. It's just private stream, and we're all just sitting here just bantering back and forth of what we think of people that advocate just because people own guns that they're on our side. And I'm like, oh no, don't be doing that. You can't be. And what was the analogy that you and I had come up with, Glock? Excellent. Slappy just gave us a super chat. Thank you, Slappy.
Doesn't mean we're friends.
Yeah, exactly.
No, and I'm glad Misha was able to talk about Pioneer because there isn't one of these streams that goes by. Because here's the deal. One of the gun companies that's most prominent and has the big YouTube channel, one of the online dealers, they're constantly pushing not the IO, the PAC Sporter and the pistol. And this Pioneer thing just keeps coming up like a dozen times a night. So I'm glad we covered it a little bit.
Wait, who keeps pushing Pioneer Arms?
A Classic keeps on having these really good deals where they put them for like $3.99.
What does Classic know about AKs?
Not very dang much.
So, with all due respect, why wouldn't anyone listen?
You'd be amazed.
You know what I was very encouraged by, Misha, if you can hear me? I got an email from Legion USA, and they're putting together those M+M Virgin kits, and they're able to sell them for $6.99. So we can get a $700 AK right now from Legion USA. Isn't that pretty cool?
Yeah.
That's a phenomenal deal.
Yeah. I haven't actually bought from them since my sales guy and guy left, but I mean I have to say I've got an AKM from them, I've got an RPK from them, and even though I swore I wouldn't keep one, I kept one of the RPKSs when they did them because it came in and it was just too cool to let go.
Yeah.
But no, like the rivets and stuff, the way they did it, you can tell that the guys who did that knew what they were doing.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, there's a difference between somebody that puts a gun together and somebody who builds a gun. Who you can have somebody. That's like I was arguing with a couple of reps from a major company, and they were asking me why I thought their gun was not put together right. I said you had your hands on the stock, you had your hands on the pistol grip, the final product, and they just kind of. I mean, they couldn't disagree with me. because if they were taking the time to assemble the parts, how they were supposed to go together, and understood the interaction between all the parts, I wouldn't have gotten a gun that was a little questionable. So, you know.
I think a lot of times these manufacturers focus so much on the look. They never really focus on the function. It's kind of the forest for the trees type thing. They're so concerned about the finish not having a scratch, about this part not being canted, about mags not fitting too loose, that they don't take the time to just, is this thing going to run? Is it going to hold up to an AK's, track record?
Well, last night in my stream I was going through the AK Kalashnikov encyclopedia, and I was talking with, I believe Mike J's in the audience tonight. I was talking with Mike J, and I said, and Switchpod was in there at that point, and I was talking to them about, hey, check this picture of this gun out. What do you notice? And they're like, well, I see a mark on the receiver. I was like, that's a crease from when they were pressing the rivets. The receiver obviously twisted in whatever, they were doing with the tool, and it kinked the receiver. If that was an American consumer, they would have had a heart attack about that. If people actually saw what an AK actually is, nobody would want to buy one. And it's just the arguments.
I guess that explains why I've always liked AKs. I've actually never seen one, so there you go.
Well, well, you are one of the lucky. Yeah. Glock, are you noticing it buffering? Is it buffering? Because it looks fine on my end.
It looks fine here, too. I was just wondering.
Yeah. I think everybody's just sitting back and listening, and I think that's great.
Yep.
Yeah.
I know.
All right, let's go to the next.
I grew up in the times when 24 baud modems were the norm. A few unlucky souls still had 300, and when you got a 9600 or a 14.4, I remember the first time I bought a 14.4, the guy at Radio Shack, yes, they were still a name back then, was just impressed as heck. And yeah, so compared to that. It's all relative.
There is a.
I remember it too.
There is a there's a Radio Shack down near Max Creek.
Wow.
Yeah, I saw that.
I was looking. I was like, how many were still left in the country? It's like 3 dozen now.
Yeah, I was like, dang. So I took a picture of it with me and the kids, and I tagged him on Facebook. I was like, man, it's not every day you see a dinosaur.
Nope.
But no, man, I can't believe they're still kicking. And we had gotten there just as they were closing, so I couldn't take the kids into it. It's like, wow.
Oh. There was that smell, and every Radio Shack had it. They had their own little smell that they did.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to set the phone down for another 30 seconds for the same reason as before. Be right back.
All right. It's funny that he mentions the smell because I've noticed that a lot of the ones that I went into had like this. It wasn't even like a musty odor. It was like this dank odor.
Yeah, I used to work at one for a short time about 20 years ago, so I remember.
So what was the dank odor? It was like half burnt styrofoam.
I think it's just all the Chinese banned chemicals that they used.
I remember once I walked into one, and the owner in our town, who I won't say the name of, and unfortunately he's passed now, but one of the guys who also worked there, he was the father of a friend, and like, hey, where's John? And he's in the back working on the computer. Okay, cool, I'll wait. And then we smell smoke, and I'm like, hey, Bob, do you smell smoke? He kind of sniffs, yeah. And then more comes out and more, and we hear, God damn it! And he runs flying out, and there's just smoke pouring out of the back room, and he opens the door, and yeah, a computer blew up on fire that he'd been working on.
Good old computers.
Hometown Radio Shacks. But, I grew up in a small town. People was Mecca. That was the only place to get anything electronic.
Yeah, if it buffered there, guys, it was on my end that time. It's pretty windy outside right now. So
you know what? Are you running a hospital?
I wish.
What I'm saying is, their lives depending. If it buffers, it buffers. It's just one of them things.
Yeah. No, I mean I'm recording it locally, so we should be good.
No reason to stress. It does what it does. I mean, we're both in the circling storm, so yeah.
Yeah, it should be here still tomorrow. So, what is today's
Yeah.
Saturday? Today's Saturday.
For a few more
sorry,
hours.
I had a question for you guys.
Go ahead.
I'm really annoyed at this storm. I really wanted to get that Kalashnikov USA gun out today and couldn't do it, and I was annoyed.
Francis Pedro asks, "Are you guys talking about Radio Shack?" Yes, we were talking about Radio Shack.
I had a question for you guys, though. Am I coming through?
Yeah, you're coming through. Go ahead.
Here's what I want to know, guys. What do you think? Okay, so AK-74, is it dead? Is it just kind of sitting still, or is it like the new hipster gun where it's the greatest thing since sliced bread and it's just the only thing you want? What do you guys think?
After the I'll let Misha go first on that because he runs a business where he would know more about that firsthand.
Well, what's dead mean? I mean, you have to understand. Also, what I do, I do a lot of mill serve. I sell a lot of Mosin Nagants. I sell a lot of, I've sold more than my fair share of SVTs. SKS haven't been made in ages. I don't think the AK-74 is dead, but I think it will kind of slip into more of a collector unique status, kind of like how the Chinese guns have done. But I think there'll still be an active, market. And then, of course, there'll be people, we still ostensibly live in a capitalist society. So where there is a need, where there's a demand, people will either import or make parts. So I think it'll still be very viable for us shooters. But as far as the market expanding, I hate to tell you, it's been contracting for the last many years. It hit its peak a long time ago.
Well, I personally, you see more. You know what? I guess you summed it up pretty good here. It's moving from something that was gaining in popularity to now people want it because it's not as popular. It's falling more into the Chinese category. It's nostalgic, I guess. But I noticed a big hit when a lot of people don't realize when the AK-74 started to come onto the scene and started to become more prevalent, the Soviet Union started to fall apart. So, you've got a lot from a lot of different countries, but it's not as a lot as people would think of, with the AKM. The AKM was so massively profitable.
Hit global indulgence. I mean, it was everywhere. The AK-74, I could list off, if not on one hand, two hands, the nations that used it in any numbers worth talking about. And really on one hand, the nations that made it. And also, the AK-77, the AKM get lumped together a lot. Those were in production since 49. The AK-74 didn't really go into production in 74. It was, 77 before mass production really got going. Mm-hmm. And between 89 and 91, the communist nations fell apart. So, much smaller production window there for anyone except for Russia and, as it happens, Romania.
Yeah. Well, it's like Poland didn't really start getting off the ground with them until the late 80s. So a lot of people don't. I mean, they were prototyping them. Yeah, sure. I mean, since
Yeah, they worked on them for a decade.
yeah, and then by the time it was mainstream, NATO was starting to be a thing that they were looking at getting into. So they're like, well, let's get everything into 5.56. So
I've
that's
actually had a lot of discussions with the folks over at WBP. Plus, and don't get me wrong, I'm not the world expert, but I have been over there and talked with people and like guns. And you say 5.45 in Russia, you get a lot of national pride. You say it in Poland or East Germany, or former East Germany, I should say, to be exact.
Yep.
They crinkle their nose.
Yeah, they hate it.
It's not something they want. It's a political thing.
Yeah, they looked at the Soviet Union as an occupation.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people don't see it as that, but
for Poland especially, it literally was. I mean, people think when the Soviet Union rolled into Poland, when Stalin and Hitler were butt buddies. So that fell apart later, like any bad breakup would. But it's the Russians rolled into East Poland and didn't leave for 50 years.
Yeah. Well, I like how this conversation's getting fleshed out. A lot of history's getting thrust in here as well.
Yeah, and what I noticed in layman's terms is you could go to Arc Guns just a few months ago, get a Bulgarian 74 kit for $275. Now all of a sudden, it's like their holy grail, and this has all happened in the last 6 months.
Yeah. Well, and if you look at it through the lens of, it's starting to become a kitschy thing. As far as you can't get it. It's kind of like the Chinese AKs. To be honest, I'm surprised that more of the Ames 74 kits haven't been sold out, because I know that AOA doesn't have very many of those.
I was tickled to death when Andrew got those in over at Arms of America. I have a story about 5.45 and how I got into it. I dare I say I'm probably one of the earliest adopters that is still active on the internet, and it all kind of got started. Anyone ever seen the movie Lost Highway from David Lynch?
No, I haven't.
Yes. Yes.
You know that highway scene when they're driving through just like a straight, desolate highway in the desert at night?
Yeah,
we were. I was with a friend, and we were talking about AKs, and I had just picked up 7.6239, and he was a gun guy and real nice fellow, and he was connected, and we got to talking, and he goes, "Those Russians have that. Have you ever seen that weird bullet they have?" And of course he got into the whole poison bullet thing, and I was like, "No, I've never really heard much about it." He said, "Yeah, they're really, really weird, really neat." And he showed me one, and like, I got to get a gun for that. And went home, and at the time, about the only guns in the market were the Romanians, factory built. And Impact Guns had them, and I must have pulled up and looked at it, and back then, $399 seemed like a lot of money. And I looked at that thing for a long time, and I was in school at the time, and I called up, and I was getting ready to finish up a semester, and I'd saved up money and called up my local gun shop, and we can special order you one. No local place had them. And so a couple of weeks later, it came in, and I went over and picked it up, and that was an experience to first hold and shoot a 5.45 gun. That was my first one, and that was around 2002, I guess. But they just really weren't a thing, and it was interesting being an owner of the gun and trying to find ammo for it all those years, watching the popularity grow and now kind of shrink back down.
Yeah. Well, once the 7N6 evaporated, well, it didn't evaporate, but once that door closed, which I think it's hilarious that once the green tip ban started coming on the horizon, everybody banded together, but screw the AK. But anyway, once the 7N6 fell off the radar, everybody's like, oh, you can't get ammo for that. Well, yeah, you can still buy the tins of that ammo, and you can still buy regular ammo for that. I mean, Golden Tiger. I mean, you just SG Ammo's always got it, and
Mm-hmm.
it's the excuse of all the ammo for it's hard to get nowadays isn't really there. But I think the 7.6 ban kind of turned a lot of people off.
When I bought my Romanian, when I bought the Romanian gun, the 7.6 surplus had not hit yet, so I bought Wolf. Wolf was the only thing, and I learned very quickly they imported it about twice a year. So I would buy a couple of cases, and then my father shot my gun and liked it. He was the first one I had, that introduced me to like the SP1 and that kind of what we would call an MSR today. But he liked it, and so I outfitted him one. So we would, just save up money and buy 3,000 or 4,000 rounds and make it last for 4, 5, 6 months. So when the 7.6 came, that's fine. But I bought one case of that, realized just how freaking corrosive it was and how much it took to clean all the corrosive out, and thought, I'll just keep buying Wolf. And
Yep.
I've never looked back. I have no interest in 7.6. And what people forget, before that ammo was banned, the price on it had already been rising for a good 6 months. It was already almost as expensive as commercial stuff before the ban.
Yeah.
So TLDR, I never gave a shit. I never liked that stuff, and I never shot it anyway because I wanted to keep my guns in good shape. And no matter how well you clean your guns, you're going to miss a spot, and it's going to lead to rust. So at least here in Arkansas, where it's humid as all get out.
Yeah. Man. No, I mean that. I do remember right before the 7.6 ban came up, it was steadily going up, and like you said, it was catching up to commercial, and I think Glock and I were talking about this the other day. AK owners are inherently cheap, and
I am.
and it's like you'll have a bunch of guys saying, "Oh, make this and this," and and then when somebody does decide to make it, nobody wants it because it's $100 more expensive than they wanted. So, and it's like, come on, really? So, I mean, I think once it got to critical mass, I think that's when the 74 started to, I think this 7.6 ban was just another nail in that coffin, and but like Glock
I mean,
is,
I can back you up in that because they were the AR-15s that were chambered in 5.45, and the reason that those came about was because 223 became very expensive after the 2008 election.
Yep.
So you had a lot of guys who had no real interest getting into that. And of course, when you get into something, you can't just go, well, it's cheaper, so I want it. They got to justify it, and they got to make all these reasons up. It's funny when 5.45 and 5.56 became the same price again.
Yeah.
Those guys just dropped it. So there were so many people that got into it over money, and that was literally the only reason.
Yeah. So basically, I'm Bill Cooper 545. That's a pretty nice username. He says, why hasn't anybody talked about trying to repeal the 89 import ban since it's only an executive order?
Well, I've talked about it in my streams, and Misha did a video, I'm going to guess a year ago, talking about kind of the history of gun control.
Mm-hmm.
We've been trying to get it out there, guys.
Well, the thing is, I don't have any faith that Trump would even do anything on that.
I will say this. I've said this to Tim Harmson, Military Arms Channel, it's Chris Bertacci, Small Arms Solution, and now they both got fast. He's not our friend, guys. He's a rich guy from New York.
Yeah.
Just let that sink into your brains. Just like he played the Bible card to get that vote.
Yep.
He played the gun card. He manipulated. If anyone voted for him, and the thing is, he also went up against Hillary Clinton. I mean, good grief. I mean, I don't want to get into that, please. I'm from Arkansas. I could go on for a while. But, I mean, yeah. But I mean, yeah, it's hard to say. Well, the Democrat was no worse because it was her. Any other Democrat, I could maybe argue, except for maybe Feinstein. But
Yeah.
whew, yeah, no. It was just a thing. But the thing that even him aside, when have you ever heard of gun control being repealed?
Mm.
Never.
It'd be a good question. Or it's
And that whole '89 ban, it actually was part of like a drug control thing. It's very, very go to Google it up. Look at various bills and laws and executive orders. They're all online. It's extremely convoluted. It's buried in there.
Yeah, Brass Chart 762 said Trump promised during his campaign to repeal previous president's executive orders on guns. I remember that. I went to a rally in Cedar Rapids, and he just was lambasting all these president's executive orders on guns, and all I hear is he's kept every promise he's ever made, and yada yada yada. And I'm like, no, he hasn't. He hasn't repealed and replaced Obamacare. That was his biggest thing. I, I wanted them to
Here's
get.
the thing: how many people did Obama promise free health care to? Did that happen?
No, and that's the thing. That's the craziest thing there. I mean, yeah, I understand not everybody is gonna get out of a president what they want, but I mean, and I understand they're only men, but I mean, it's interesting to see that a lot of people don't understand that they're just snakes in fancy suits. That's
Well, interesting you say that. Are they men or are they reptilians?
Well, yeah, I've heard some rumors, so
I'm messing with you.
That's why
But-
they're that's why they're trying to get global warming going so they can increase the
Ooh, I like
temperature.
that.
Yeah. I'm on the wrong channel to be talking about that stuff though, aren't I, Glock?
Yeah, we don't want YouTube to completely ruin the stream.
Yeah. I don't want to have to go to Utah Gun Exchange because I follow along with what Alex Jones does. So, oh my goodness, oh boy, I could go on about that. I don't want to. The reptoids come.
Well, just in about a month or so, the frogs will start mating here in Arkansas, so I could kind of try to observe who's hooking up with who.
That could, yeah, you could be onto something there. We'll see where the political climate's gonna go just because of the breeding habits there. All right, let's see here. What's a good question that I? Hang on. The cat's messing around in the background. Let's see here. What about foreign versus domestic AKs? Now, I know we said something about the Pioneer being the IO of Europe. I would disagree, partially. But as far as, foreign AKs versus domestic AKs, what... Where do you see the future going for imports? Where do you see the future going for imports as far as the diversity and the potential for there to not be imports at all? And then we can segue into the American AKs.
I'll let Glock go first. He hadn't said a whole lot lately, so.
Well, I'm gonna say import because again, I think they have it down pat. Many of these companies have been building AKs for 50 years, 60 years in some cases, and I think they have it down pat. That's one of the reasons why. So we can talk about quality, cold hammer forged chrome line barrels. We can talk about things like that. And then for me too, I just like the curio tree, right? And provenance behind it, that these guns were made for actual militaries. It makes it a lot more interesting for me. So there's a couple reasons: quality and mainly the curio of it, getting it from these old world type manufacturing factories.
Yeah.
Yep. I don't. I guess I tend to subscribe. I look at it a few ways. The AK is an older design. Militaries only buy an old design for a while. I mean, eventually, people always talk about, oh, the U.S. is going to replace the AR. Whatever. Eventually it will, but the AR is a much newer design than the AK. Not so much in year terms, but in generational progression terms. It's a couple of generations ahead of the original Kalashnikov. But how many factories are still left making the AK? People always want to, white knight China. Oh, if we can only get that repealed. Well, that's not going to happen. But China has boiled it down to one factory. If you talk to our European friends and whatnot, they say that modern Chinese AKs are not awesome quality. And I suspect they'll probably shut that down pretty soon. The Russian guns, they're gone. It was a miracle we got what we got. The whole gun relation thing with Russia has been pretty precarious since '94 in the bilateral agreement. So you have Cougar in Romania, and no, I don't care how I pronounce it. I really don't. And you have Zastava, who does their thing. They're pretty good. They're doing stuff. FB Radom makes the Beryl, but that's kind of their thing. And, of course, there's always the Grot, the NSBS, that they're maybe eventually going to replace it with. And, of course, there's WBP that does it commercially.
Mm-hmm.
But that's really it. There's not a lot of other AK makers. Eventually, those companies are going to run out of militaries interested in buying their products, so they're going to have to be supported by civilian markets. And, of course, the U.S. is the largest civilian market. If we support them, fine. If we don't, we don't. If they sell enough, they do. But if there's ever a gun ban or anything, again, remember the original assault weapons ban in '94? It had nothing to do with import versus domestic. It was across the board.
Yeah.
So I think if ever legislation dramatic enough to ban imports, it'll take domestic with it.
Yeah, that's a good point. Basically, one of the things that you touched on there is, it's not, it was a blanket ban. So, Francis Pedro says, Misha, please don't be so cynical about Chinese guns. I like Chinese AKs, but I am not a fan of them.
I do too. The thing is, I'm not being cynical. I'm being that ban has been in place for 25 years. It's not going anywhere. Even if tomorrow we snap our fingers, they themselves have just kind of lost interest in producing them. It's an old design.
Well, yeah, they're not outfitting their military with them anymore, and there are a few countries that are making 5.56 variants of the AK. Former Warsaw Patriots. Oh, the Beryls are nice. Oh my goodness, I'm looking desperately for selectors. For the left side selectors, and
shoot me an email afterwards.
Okay, I'll do that because I'm wanting to do an early underfolder, side folder, or an underfolder experimental model, and I need that. I need a left side selector, and then I need a left side selector for another variant that I'm trying to duplicate. But
here's the thing, Francis. I got Francis's back because he's a buddy of mine. So when I get time one day to do about a 6 or 7 hour video, I have most of the available Chinese imports. So I'll show you about 6 hours of Chinese guns, so they won't be dead anymore. Okay, man, I got you.
They won't be dead. Nah, we gotta pick on Chinese. I mean, not many people, I mean, I like China. China's great, except for that whole Tiananmen Square thing
I
that
had
they
fried
did.
rice for dinner tonight, if that helps.
Yeah.
I had sweet and sour chicken. I swear to God, before I came here.
My fried rice had chicken in it too. Wasn't sweet and sour, but it was fried rice with chicken.
Well,
There
I
you go.
I
We do
was
like Chinese AKs.
I was a little bit different there, guys. I went a little bit off radar there, and I had tacos.
Man, we could punish
Real quick,
the shit out of a bathroom, couldn't we?
if I can address the chat real quick, somebody brought up Russian, and this comes up every time. Here's the advice I'm going to give you guys, as being a long-time collector, if you will. If you see anything that's Russian, and it seems like it's expensive now, and you can afford it, still buy it. I still see no ceiling on Russian stuff. I still think it's going to keep going up and up and up and up. So if you can get it right now, buy it. Get yourself something Russian.
Huh. Say that last sentence again.
Yeah, I didn't hear you
Oh,
there.
I said if you can afford it, even with the current Russian prices, buy it now. I still don't see a ceiling yet. I think Russian stuff's going to keep going up and up and up. So I would still buy Russian even right now, unless don't get ripped off. But you know what I'm saying. Just buy
Yeah.
it while you can. It's still going up.
Yep. If it's got a triangle with an arrow in it, take a good look at it first before you buy it, because it may be Romanian. Just kind of throwing
Oh
that out
yeah,
there.
how many people I've heard? Oh, that Romanians use Russian barrels because of no, that's a Romanian proof. It's just similar.
Mhm.
But do you agree? Do you agree, Misha, the Russian stuff's still an investment even now, right? Like it hasn't hit its ceiling yet.
I don't think it's hit its ceiling. As far as from a collector's standpoint, even like a hodgepodge Mixmaster parts kit, still, it doesn't even matter what it is, and it's no. I don't think the ceiling's been hit on them yet at all.
I don't think there's really ever a ceiling with that stuff. I think it's kind of climbing and then plateauing. If you look at, for example, Chinese guns or Russian, they'll go up for a while, then they'll more or less level out. And then time will go by, then they'll go up for a while and then level out. Of course, you also have to take into consideration economy, the value of the dollar, everything else. But it's kind of a fits and starts thing.
Well, it's good that you mentioned that, because one of the things that I tell people is it's not too far off now. And then you look at magazines. I'm looking at ads from the 80s, and magazines are 10, $15 a piece. So, it's you're really.
Well, like I was saying earlier about my Romanian guns, my SCR-1, part of it was, my wage was less, but, you could have bought a lot of bunks. Yeah, we could, a lot of bunk bags too. But that was a month's rent nearly.
Yeah. All right, let's see here. What about now? I know a lot of people want to ask about this, and they have been asking me about this over the last few years. I have my opinions on this. Versus cast versus forge. Now, I mean, I don't believe that cast parts necessarily mean that a gun is junk. But a lot of people don't understand some of that stuff. As far as the casting, and we don't have to go on domestic. We can kind of lump it in, and then deviate from after it. But go ahead, guys.
Well, I can go real briefly, but talking to Misha the other day, he knows a lot more about this than me. I'm just gonna say this, guys. First of all, I don't think it's necessarily what the materials are made out of as much as what kind of quality control they're doing. Because if we look at Ruger, what they've been able to do with investment castings, what some of the combat countries have been doing,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's as where a machine part can still be from a casting. And, all this stuff gets convoluted. And I'm just going to say that as an intro because I know for a fact Misha knows more than me about this. So that's about all I'll say.
I really don't. I'm not a machinist. That was more my bad. But yeah, it really has more a matter of quality. The thing is, when I was picking my AKM from Legion when they built me some a couple of years ago, I intentionally looked for cast parts. I know that's funny, but when you get into Russian AKMs from the 70s, more and more time went by. For example, the bolt carrier was cast, the gas block, the front sight base, the rear, the guide could be cast, so on and so on. What wasn't cast usually ended up being stamped. About the only part, if you pick up an SGL that are forged, are the trunnion and the bolt head, the bolt itself.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing casting if you do it right. About Ruger. Ruger has made literally a career on. I mean, every Ruger out there is essentially based on a cast frame or receiver. Springfield M1As are on a cast receiver, and I hate to tell you this, but I've seen just as many forged M1 Grand receivers fail as I have cast M1As. It's all about quality control. It's all about taking the time, having the patience, doing the checking to make sure. There are just as many issues to look out for with forgings as there are castings. And also there's this trick that manufacturers pull, Century, that they will take a cast, raw casting that's poured into a mold and cooled, then they'll machine it to final shape, and they'll say, this is a machined, and of course machined equals milled, right? Receiver.
Oh, sure.
Well, technically, it was machined, it was milled, but it still started off as a casting. If you want to know, tap it with your finger. The structure of a true forged, a true milled part feels differently than it does a cast. So a lot of the stuff, like you said, that people assume is machined, milled, forged, actually is cast. And if you own a Sega, guess what, bud? You got a lot of cast parts, and it's a great gun.
Yep. There are people out there that will make a gigantic deal that a bolt carrier is cast, and I ran a gun. I've run it now for over 7,000 rounds, and I haven't noticed. And it's got a cast bolt carrier, and it's an American cast bolt carrier, and it hasn't given me any issues other than the carrier tail. But,
okay. How many people out there own a Wasser? If your Wasser is dated from 1980 onwards, being original parts, or it's from new production parts, guess what? You have a cast bolt carrier.
Mm-hmm.
So what?
Yeah.
Probably that one that Rob has run for 9,000 rounds as a cast carrier.
Yep. That thing's still running.
Yep. Well, my SAR-1 has a cast carrier, and I've put over 5,000, probably closer to 7 or 8 to it. I completely lost count. I never was counting to begin with.
Yeah.
Fine. No problem.
Well,
Go ahead, Glock.
well, and that's why I did that video a while back about the Yugoslavian M72 kit with the tail. showing how it's slightly deformed and then it work hardened itself. I think a lot of you guys are too worried about the tail. I mean, unless that tail deforms itself all the way down to nothing, it's perfectly fine for it to slightly mushroom a little bit. And then I'm not a machinist either or a metaler, but metal has the ability to work harden itself. And I've torn down a lot of kits before that were taken out of service that have a little bit of peening, if you will, on the tail. So don't lose sleep over it, guys. I don't think it's as big of a deal as some guys would let you think.
That tail there is meant to block the hammer from hitting the tail of the bolt itself. So
it
the hammer comes.
It prevents accident or out of battery discharge.
Yeah. So I mean, it's gonna hit it, and if you hit something enough, it's gonna deform a wee bit.
Yeah.
No matter what.
Now, that's not to say that, if you have a part that has junk metallurgical properties or the heat treat just isn't right, which I've seen Hungarian bolt carrier tails just get eaten alive. And
I can explain that. Here's the problem with me. I get told things, and I don't know what I can disclose. But I can say this: a lot of those the Hungarian ones that got deformed, what they did, they refinished them using a process that involved heat, and they basically wrecked the original concrete to the bolt carrier.
So they nailed
and that comes from a major vendor that we all know and respect, but I don't want to give too much away. But they did a study on it, and it turns out they were basically heating them too much when they were refinishing them and just destroying the original heat treat on the outside.
Nice.
Yeah.
In that situation, case hardening doesn't work hardening doesn't happen until the part's darn near nothing. So
yeah, because usually on steel, and this is more from my FAL background, with a locking shoulder, the outside is intentionally hardened more, whereas the inner core is less soft for more flexibility, more elasticity.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you take away that outer hard shell, you're just into that softer middle.
Yep.
And it's just like a Tootsie Pop. You're going to get to the nothing.
Yep. Yep, grind the shell off of a turtle. There's not much rigidity to the insides.
Hey, I never did that as a kid. There are no videos to prove me
and
my friend Andy did that. We didn't do it, I swear.
This is a good talk. I know it's Misha, but you explained some stuff that I'm glad to get this out there because people are losing sleep over these things at night, and it's just good to explain it a little bit to some of the newer guys,
Well, it's not only that, but people on YouTube there's a lot of people on YouTube that are, I don't tell anybody I'm an expert. Glock doesn't tell anybody he's an expert. But there's a lot of people that speak from positions of authority. Well, whether they believe that they do or not, when somebody sees somebody on YouTube, especially YouTube, for whatever reason, if somebody's got a video on YouTube, people take that as gospel, and they're like, oh, well, this guy said, that guy over here said. And you go to watch the video, and I'm sure, Misha, you get 100,000 stupid questions about things that were said to you from videos that somebody has seen on the internet, and they're like, oh, well, this, I can't do this because of reason XYZ because I watched a video on YouTube.
I have 2 stories about that, but I'm going to set the phone down for another 10 seconds, and I'll be right back.
All right.
Look.
I'm just taking a pic here in the chat.
Yeah, pretty active chat tonight, guys. Pretty happy about that.
This is really good, guys. This is like having an audiobook encyclopedia tonight, AK Encyclopedia.
Yeah, I'm sure Misha would probably be all right with doing this again. As far as the audios, one of the things that we're having difficulty with is the weather tonight. So that's
yeah. I'm back now, by the way. I can actually hear Glockshooter better now, by the way, than I could in the beginning.
Okay, that's good.
Sucks to
Yeah.
be you, man.
What it is when we're both quiet, he gets louder.
Nice. Well, it
So
could be
yeah,
it could be the way that everything's set up. So
I think it's the audio balance.
it could be. I had to. I literally had to. Well, we were on for like an hour before this, trying to get the audio all worked out, and it's kind of janky the way I've got this all set up. But yeah, we
It
got her.
works.
We got her.
But yeah, as I was saying, I have a couple of YouTube stories about how that all kind of happens. Yeah, people say things, they hear things, and the thing is, first off, everyone makes mistakes. Everyone does, and you can't, in print, you can edit, you can change, you can update. Video, you can't do that. So sometimes the mistakes are sincere. Another one that I really had happen was with a lot of the Arsenal stuff. A lot of their PR videos are bullshit. They're just wrong. They're just so wrong. And I was in an argument not even a month ago on the Clubhouse with someone about that, about what was said from Arsenal about one of their guns. I can't remember what it was, but it's just wrong. Like they play a couple of the videos, like the one they did with Rob Ski. They kind of present it as if the Sam 7 is assembled here from Bulgarian parts, the way that video is worded. And what it's them is it gets them playing ultra lawyer with everything and, not wanting to report a gun. But people won't believe that. They won't, the gun comes in with a thumbnail stock and that's that.
Well, you mentioning that, there have been numerous times where Arsenal has presented their rifles as being made from parts that were imported from Bulgaria. And I've always, whenever I see pictures of what they're talking about, what they really mean is we just put the 922R parts on.
Oh, yeah, put her in here.
Real quick, Cave Dave just donated $49.99 to the channel. Excellent, thank you, bud. Now, keep in mind, guys, if you guys are...
That's the first super chat I've ever been even remotely related to. I've never done those before.
He says, I bought the good, bad, and the ugly Sam 7K and muzzle brake from Misha. Added an arm brace. Great home defense pistol. Thank you. That was Cave Dave.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, and that was my title of my video before I converted mine. I was just like, God damn, this guy has so much potential. Why did they not take advantage of it?
Real quick, before I get distracted here.
By the way, I completely screwed up on Dave's order, and I think I had accidentally sent an extra muzzle brake or something to him, but he was a really cool dude about everything. I straightened it out, and he was really cool about it all.
He's a good guy. I mean, he's usually always in here, and he's never really judgy or anything, but he's always got a lot of information. Yeah. And
I can't remember what something didn't go 100% to plan, and he was totally cool about it, and I was much obliged.
You can't ask for a better person,
Agreed.
Real quick before what happened to Big Bad Jump? Oh, gosh darn it! That's Streamlabs moderator. I have okay, guys. If you Big Bad Jones, don't worry about that. If you're using all caps, the Streamlabs bot, takes care of that, I guess. But don't worry, your chat is still in the video. So, when we replay the video, obviously your chat's still there. So, I don't understand why it keeps doing that. It's supposed to do it after 2 or more, and it's only doing it after 1. One guy got whacked with it earlier, and I can't do anything with it unless I kill the stream. So,
I had something to add real quick, Zeke.
Hang on.
I,
Let me. Uh, yeah, I know, Mateo. Anyway, if you do donate on the live stream, you're eligible to be a part of the patron only stream. So that way, you guys, if you guys are donating to the channel, if you guys contribute within, us, from month A to month B, it's like Cave Dave. Next month's live stream will be, the next Patreon live stream. You'll be able to come in, as well as anybody else who donates to the channel. So just throwing that out there, just in case people wanted to know. Go ahead, Glock.
Yeah, I don't think people realize how much goes into a YouTube channel. We sure as hell didn't when we started it 9 years ago or whatever it was, but it takes a lot of, if you love guns, it's just, Jay and I looked at it as giving back to the community. We watch so many videos that it's just our thing, and it's all, but good grief, these days, the camera equipment and everything. I mean, heck, I just broke an SD card yesterday. And there was another, $30 for a full-size SD card, there it is. Yep.
Well, and that's like, an SD card. I mean, that just happens. I mean, an SD card, I did a patron-only video, and in the process of uploading or downloading from the SD card to the computer, and Glockshooter, you might be able to. I'm not entirely sure. Go ahead and give it a try. But anyway, from the computer, me installing it into the computer, and it halfway through, it corrupted, and I lost half the video. So, that right there, you're building a gun on camera, and you're doing your thing. If you've only got one camera on, if you've only got one camera on the product, then you're SOL if it corrupts. So you can't just go back and redo it. I mean, you already got the thing together.
Nope.
So.
Yeah, and for me, sometimes I'm in the flow. My audio, like that batteries or something happens, something gets unplugged, and it's like, oh crap, the last 20 minutes are without audio. And for me personally, I can't just do a voiceover, of what I'm doing. Even if I could, it's just when you're in the groove, you're in the groove, and when you're not, you're not.
Yeah.
I just posted a link to the chat, guys. This is Misha's GB page, and I am a repeat customer, and I just wanted to pass that on to you guys. Good place to shop at. Again, repeat customer for a reason, guys. So.
Yeah, we're the place that takes 3 weeks to install a sling loop on a PM63. But I was emailing about that earlier. I'm really hoping when I get it mine back, my gunsmith is it's just it was a simple thing. Hey, can you tack weld this on? And now it's this huge but if it works, it's going to be awesome sauce. But I was like, oh man, okay, we'll do it right, do it the way you think, because my guy's the gunsmith, I'm not. So
yeah. One individual asked me earlier, has been asking me several times, and I want to make sure that he gets an answer on this. The AES-10B, have you been able to handle the newer one?
Not yet. I probably will, but I've handled the newer, the washer underfolders and whatnot, and I've handled a boatload of the original AES-10Bs, be they built from original parts or the newer production ones from say 2006, 2007. Oh, man, I can't say not get it, man. Even at the current price, the gun, and it's so fun to shoot. especially if you get one with the adjustable bipod.
Yep.
You can plunk that sucker up at the height you want and just rip, and they're so well built and so fun. I mean, I'm going to be honest. I've got one of the paratroopers. I fully intend to keep one of the fixed stalkers, whenever things settle down a little bit. But I had a chance to grab a couple. I didn't on the first pass just because of cost. I usually need to get the third or fourth run. They're a little cheaper, and
Yeah.
like you said earlier in the stream, Zeke, we're all cheap here, and good grief, I am. I'm Jewish, so there's that. So I'm going to save money anyway. I'm a penny, but you know what? Penny pinching is why I have the guns I have.
Well, that's how they make copper wire. They put two Jews together and they stretch that sucker out with a penny.
Yep.
But no, I hear you on that. I mean, there's nothing more frugal than wanting to be an AK guy. And
my wife and I figured out in 2010 how much money we'd save by canceling our TV service. And you wouldn't believe, I mean, over 9 years now, how much money we've saved on, not paying for rental of boxes and the service itself. And the funny thing is, I watch everything I want on the internet anyway.
yeah.
And so, yeah, that goes into guns.
Yep. Well, I kind of was in the same position as you. I mean, I was paying for cable, and then I kind of really took a step back and looked at what I was actually what I was doing there, and really I was only ever watching 2 or 3 channels, and believe it or not, those were actually channels that were not on the cable box. So it really didn't, and it cut my cable bill in half because I have the internet through the cable company, and it.
Yeah. Well, my wife likes hockey, and they basically moved or discontinued the hockey channel, and I like History Channel, and good God, we all know what happened to that. If I want to watch alien conspiracy shows, there's YouTube.
Yep.
And I do because I find them very interesting.
I'm sure you hit autoplay and just grab a nice glass of wine and just kind of kick the feet up and just let her rip.
Funnily enough, you say wine. My father's a beer drinker. When I started drinking when I was a teenager, I drank wine because where I grew up, there were 4 vineyards.
Yeah.
And he walked out the backyard. I never hid what I did from my parents, ever. And, I was drinking wine. And he goes, my son's a goddamn wino. And he's sitting there holding, like, a big old 6-pack of beer. And I'm like, yeah, well. And so we had this thing where we'd meet out in the backyard, and he'd drink a couple of beers, and I'd drink a glass of wine. And that was our like, father-son time thing.
I have a question for Misha that Mike J just reminded me of. Okay, this is an interesting question. So, do you think it would be interesting, Misha, if a few of you guys got together? Let's say it was like you, Robski, and Zeke were taking like an eclectic build and pulling a feature from, let's say, a Baril, from a Romanian RPK, or an AK-74M. Do you think that would be an interesting discussion or video?
He kind of cut out in the middle of that, Zeke. I heard the AK-74M part, but I
Yeah,
didn't hear the part before.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if he cut out. Glock asked that entire thing again because I'm not sure you cut out, but I just want to be sure.
Okay, so one of our regular watchers here, Misha, a guy named Mike J, he brought up a good idea. What if we were to get 3 AK guys, like let's just say Misha, Zeke, and Rob Ski, and the 3 of you got together on a video, let's say, or a chat, and did an AK build by committee, where each of you would chime in. Let's say, apart from a Baril, apart from a Romanian RPK, apart from a a Chinese, just where each person chimed in and by committee built the perfect AK. Do you think that's an interesting topic in the future?
I think that'd be an interesting one.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it'd be the perfect AK, but it would be damn interesting.
Well, it'd have a folding spike bayonet.
Ooh, you know what? How about we did this? Only one part per country, and we saw how many parts were interchangeable. If think about the Chinese, they almost did their own thing. Most Chinese parts won't fit European, but yeah, I think there's something there. I agree.
Yeah, that's definitely something that we could explore. Mike J.
Rob's wanting to do something around the end of summer, around September, like a big meet and greet thing with mics and people and questions and stuff. So I posted, and I'm not he's not against it. So he and I live pretty close together now, so it's probably more or less doable.
Yeah. He's not too far away from my dad now.
Mike said he would want me in on the committee too, by the way. I guess I'm an AK guy now.
No. We can't have riffraff in our build community.
I'll remember to get that.
Good old Glock. Yeah, your name is Glockshooter. You can't be an AK guy.
Can I take Glock mags? Can I take Glock mags?
You know what? I've got one right here that can. My Pac 9.
Yep.
Okay. How many hammers did you use to put it in there?
Well, thanks to my buddy Misha at Ozark Bear Arms, I was able to procure the slide folding brace, so it's set up pretty good right now.
Yeah, that one guy, man, I'll tell you. Yeah, he's a pretty cool guy. So as far as AKs are concerned, as far as the countries of origin are concerned, what country of origin did you? Well, this is kind of a multi-pronged question here. What kind of improvements from brand X, country of origin, have stuck with you? You know, as far as their variants and their development of the AK. It doesn't have to be caliber specific, but what country of origin would you say most important?
Still be the AK. Any further, and it's not. It gets into like Galil territory because I like the Galil. I'm not, but I'm not even sure I really consider the Galil an AK as such because it's so different.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm gonna go with Pump.
Yeah. Well, that's I agree with you, and I'm on the same camp as you. Just because, I mean, you get a lot of, like, okay, say, take Romania, for example. Romania doesn't really look like they did much with the AK other than just put different size barrels on it. As far as Poland, you know, they were trying to wiggle around licensing that 74 so hard that they, you know, and they wanted the most interesting. And, you know, when you got to what the Tontal ended up being, that's like I know of a few Tontals that are still left. And I can't really go too far into that. But I know of a few Tontals that are left, but I don't. They're more transition model Tontals. You know, as you know, it's like they were cut up, but they are barrels, but they're really Tontals.
I think I know what you're maybe like a WZ91 type where it's in 5.56. Is that what you mean? With the black handguards and all that, but they're still Yeah, otherwise the same.
Yeah, essentially. No, it's um, yeah. It's one of those things where Poland seemed to take the bar and run with it.
Stream just went offline on YouTube.
Excuse me, guys. Yeah, it says it's reconnecting. Give it a second. Holy crap!
I was hoping maybe
I'm
it's
gonna
getting kind
pour
of
another
late, but
drink if
I
it
was
keeps
hoping maybe
reconnecting.
one more question if it'll come back on.
Armed Ape asks, quick build question, 922R compliance.
Bedtime.
You really want to get into 922R?
Yeah, he asks, if you have a U.S. receiver and a U.S. barrel, what would you go with to finish the compliance?
As many original parts as I could.
As I'm not a dealer and I'm not a lawyer, I've never heard of 922R because I'm not a manufacturer and import.
Yeah. Hey, what? Oh. Look, I have said this so many. I have had direct contact with ATF Tex branch. I've had direct contact with ATF agents on the ground with guns in their hands. I've asked them about it. They have said categorically it applies to manufacturers and importers. They have said categorically that it does not apply to the end user, the private citizen. They have also laughed in my face. I kid you not. If internet lawyers want to make a bigger deal out of it than it is, that's their business. But the ATF, and I mean this is basically a synopsis of all my interactions. They don't give a shit. As long as importers, people with FFL 07s are in compliance, they're happy. Beyond that, it's all internet stuff.
Well, I think Tapco, because Tapco was the first company that started making all these cheap plastic accessories, and they told you you need to buy these, and they posted your checklist you had to check off. I think Tapco was the big starter in that.
Yeah, I believe so.
Well, I can tell you that weapons back in the old HK days, before AKs were roller lock guns were a big thing. Back in the 90s, special weapons were just throwing guns together on U.S. receivers with no U.S. parts, and that's when 922R kind of came into the public consciousness. And basically the ATF said, hey, look, special weapons, you need to be putting, 6 or 5 more U.S. parts plus the receiver in there.
Mm-hmm.
Do this. If they really thought I was serious, they would have done a recall. And let me be clear, I'm not telling anyone to sell a gun that's not in compliance. If you sell an AK, you know what? Throw a Tapco trigger group, throw a mag, pull mag in it. Boom, 6 parts. Do that. Because you know what? All 922R is a workaround for the 89 ban. I've actually thought about doing a video for a long time called 922R, actually our friend. Because without 922R, we wouldn't be able to have folding stocks, pistol grips, bayonet lugs, so on and so forth. It's a workaround for the 89 ban. It's actually kind of the government being cool if you think about it. So we all play this game. We all sell guns with enough parts to qualify as U.S. made magically. But the more we poke at it and look at it and talk about it, the more chance there is the government's just going to go, never mind, we just banned this in 89. No more AKs. So, yeah, keep poking at it and see what happens. Or you could just leave it alone, realize it was a compromise that was reached, and that is that.
Sounds good to me.
Yep. I don't think about it. You know what? Whenever I sell a gun, it's compliant.
Armed Ape asks, am I at Zeke Shoots or a strip club? Money's flying everywhere.
I've been there. I called Russia at 3 a.m. from a strip club once while doing kamikaze shots. So why not? I may have went backstage.
All right. Well,
Jeez.
here's I think the last real big question that I was asked to interrogate you with. What do you think about the U.S. made AKs, and where do you think that they should go with? Do you think that they should stick with what works? With what they're doing, or where would you like to see the U.S. market go, or on U.S. made AKs?
I need a drink for that question, so I'm going to go pour another one. You talk amongst yourselves for a minute.
It needs to limber up for this next one. So
Yeah,
That's a terrible.
pontificate.
yeah.
By the way, shameless plug for Monopolava Polish-made potato vodka. You should try some. It comes in a square bottle. It's good stuff.
I've actually had that.
I thought
Awesome.
Scottish
I have
people
not
drank
met
whiskey.
many others that have.
I thought it went down pretty smooth. It doesn't have that lingering vodka-y taste to it.
Yeah, not that real sharp chemical taste. It's very organic taste. That's why I like it. There's not a lot of aftertaste, and it doesn't, have a lot of consequences the next day.
Yeah.
I'm waiting on you guys. I figured you'd talk first about it because USA case, good grief.
Well.
Well, do you want me to chime in or?
Yeah.
Orion just got. Guys, don't talk in all caps. The chat bot does not like that.
Well, you know what I'm almost to the point of saying with these USAK companies? I'm basically ready to say just shit or get off the pot.
Yeah.
I'm kind of getting tired of some of their practices, and I wish they would. Here's what's happening right now. There's a bunch of new AK guys coming into to the platform. They've never heard of one before. They were told by their uncle, that served in Vietnam, what a crappy gun it was. So now they're going to try it out. And when they try it out, they're experimenting just some junk that they're putting out. So I wish some of these people could get their acts together and build the platform well. And if they can't, then maybe they should just defer to the couple of companies that are willing to invest in quality control and actually, get some engineers that know how these guns work. I know I'm sounding negative, but that's kind of how I feel.
Yeah. Now, when I'm talking about U.S. manufacturers, I'm not talking about kit builders. I'm talking about, just standalone, hey, we're making our own parts, or we're maybe making our own parts, just depends on who you ask. Personally, I think that there are a couple of companies that do want to do right by the AK. And I also feel that there are companies that just don't care and want to make a buck off of the ignorance of people who do want an AK. They're feeding off the people that want an AK, but they really want an AR that looks like an AK, but they don't understand that
everyone knows the AK is easy to make and cheap, right? Everyone knows the AK is simple. It's peasant technology. People can make it in a cave, right?
That's the premise.
No, not theoretically. Theoretically, in reality, it took 10 years of development in the Soviet Union with the entire resources of a nation of over 150 million people to work out all the metallurgy, all the angles, everything to get that right. And if you didn't get it right, you know what? There's a lot of comfy gulags over in Siberia. There was a lot of stuff that went into the AK. And of course, when Russia got it right, they shared that with all their friendly allies. And we think in our hubris that three guys on a budget of $50,000 can replicate what took them 10 years and how many resources to do. The AK is, as I've said before, deceptively simple. Everything there is done exactly a way that worked best. Yeah, it has loose tolerances. So what? You know, the trunnions machined quite precisely.
Yeah. Well,
and the AK, it's an economy of scale thing. The AK was designed to be produced in the hundreds of thousands or millions, and that's when it gets super duper cheap, which is great for military.
Yeah.
Not so great for commercial manufacturer.
Well, oh boy, I forgot. Well, it's like Poland. You said something about gulags. Poland and East Germany was a big one on sending people away that weren't able to. It's like if they're making too much scrap, they're like, oh, guess what? Gulag for you, gulag for you, gulag for everybody. Everybody gets to go to the gulag.
You get a gulag.
No, that's what they're doing, and you know that's one reason why East Germany was so far behind.
Degree, man. I know.
It's
if you'd like to talk to my wife, her father was a major in the Red Army. We can get into that. We do. Yeah, no. Yeah, I mean, you either did your. I mean, the thing about communism, you're guaranteed a job. You're also guaranteed to be more than shit canned if you didn't do your job right. I mean, there were serious consequences. Yeah, the job was free, but if you didn't do it right, and the thing is too, being more optimistic. You know what? If you're on the assembly line, the AK was made for an assembly line that would make Henry Ford proud.
Yeah.
You know, if you had a gas block that didn't fit your barrel right, you just reached for the next size down gas block and put it on and went ahead and you threw that larger one in the bin and pulled it out next time. They had the benefit of having hundreds of barrels come through a day and hundreds of gas blocks. They could make them where they fit perfectly. And every guy, like there was a gas block guy, that was his job to put the gas block on. So when you try to translate that to American manufacturing, of having 3 or 4 gunsmiths put a gun together, and you've got to make the parts you have on hand work no matter what, that's a totally different skill set.
Yeah.
And these are good things to keep in mind, guys. It's a whole
we can make some great stuff. I just think the AR-15 is better suited to America. That's why we made it. The AK is better suited to Russian manufacturing. That's why they made it.
Dex says that Brandon Herrera is also pursuing a 50 AK that could be miniaturized for intermediate cartridges. He's working on it. I remember when he...
AK.
What's that?
A 50 caliber AK? BMG?
Yep. He's fired it a couple of times.
Okay, how many pieces? No, I guess it could work. I fired 50 cal ARs, and of course, you know, for a New Year's celebration on our channel, we did a Barrett M82. That was a lot of fun. You have no idea. But, I mean, you know what? If you can pay $3 a round, I don't think you're going to be scrimping on the cost of the rifle. So, you know what? More power to him.
Yeah.
You know what? Switzerland has done it. Swiss Arms in Neuhausen has done a 50 cal gun. And so, sure. Why not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
love 50 cal. It's a lot of fun.
what's that?
I said I love 50 cal. It's a lot of fun. I mean, I think every time you shoot a 50 cal, you get like 10 extra testosterone points. I mean, it's a thing. It is damn near an artillery piece. It's a thing. It's really fun.
Yeah. Looks like we've been streaming for 1 hour and 48 minutes. Not doing too
You're
bad.
sweet.
Well, out of all the AKs that you've ever owned, do you still have your first one?
I do.
You do?
Sold it, got a Wasser that had all those things, and then decided, you know what? I really want my original AK back, and I got it back. I had to pay more, you know.
I mean, I'm sure you probably have already owned your bucket list AK, but if you haven't owned already your bucket list AK, what is or what was your bucket list AK?
If I had to pick one, I'd love to own today, just because AK 107.
Okay. Any particular reason why that would be?
I love mechanics. I love how things work, and that is an extremely fascinating design. I got to shoot one at a range in Russia years ago, and it was really enjoyable.
What about you, Glock?
Well, I don't know. I actually was able to attain a couple of my dream guns in the last couple of years, so.
How about
let me think of what
M21 Glock?
Uh-oh, the stream just kicked off. Give it a second, guys.
Some of these simple one-liner questions are the hardest ones, aren't they?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they are.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, my white whale gun before was a Valmet, but I picked one of those up years
White
ago right
whale.
before the price raises. Yeah, white whale. I've actually read Moby Dick.
Well, I mean,
Moby Dick. There we go. Moby Dick twice, and
Jiminy Christmas.
I mean, I could say like I wanted an AK Type 1, but that doesn't really count, does it? Because that's unobtainium.
I know a guy that's got
yeah.
a couple of pieces of one, but
Oh, you know what? You know what's really bad? I passed up AK Type 1 kits. You can hate me now. I hate myself, but I passed them up because there's nowhere to
there's
get
no way.
receivers back then.
yeah.
Oh man.
It seems
Well, what
like
about, like,
it
a
seems
Korean?
like oh goodness, a Korean, yeah. That'd be a neat one to get.
I mean,
Oh heck yeah! I love Korean stuff. Not for the yeah, I enjoy it.
I mean, some guy on YouTube made a clone of one, and he like, destroyed people's retirement funds and stuff because he did that. Because now everybody wants to clone one.
jeez.
I got so much crap for that. I'm just gonna make another one. That's all. People are gonna have to realize not to complain about what I do because it'll only make it worse.
But how life goes.
Yeah. It's like don't try to troll me. I troll you.
Well, what about?
That's kind of how I feel
Read
about
the
that
comments here.
AK-74M I mentioned earlier. I had handled one over in Russia back in like folding stock Sega where you can get a regular one for like $650. Because I want it. I don't care. I don't. And now look, that is still
Well,
one of my ideas.
that's what everybody wants now is that folding stock.
And they did a great job. Okay, it doesn't have the grip reinforcement plate. So what? Add one. The handguards are U.S. Put Russian. The muzzle brake's not right. Put a Russian muzzle brake on it.
Yeah.
That fire cool guy that I bought so many of my Great Russian parts off. He's got me a brand new Type 2 stock set. He got me a brand new, actually two of them, AK 74M muzzle brakes. He got me an AK 74M, recoil guide rod with a little spring dingus. You can get this stuff. You can take a gun and make it the way you want it. And I love my gun. It's a gun 20 years ago I never thought I would own.
Yeah. Well, okay. Here's an interesting variant that I've only seen one parts kit on. I know that there are more out there. The AMP69.
Ooh.
I've never seen an original barrel. I've seen a diagram of an original barrel, then I've never seen one without the brake. So I don't know what the barrel looks like.
Let me just say this. I know where there's some in Europe, and I know someone trying to import those. So who knows? Who knows?
We'll keep our fingers crossed. I know
There's
a
a guy at Gunbrook, complete kit for sale that he's had over the.
Oh gosh, yeah, he's got an unobtainium price on it too. Unless he's dropped the price.
I believe.
I mean, it would be so nice, but I don't know. I'd be so paranoid of building that thing with a crap receiver, or not a crap receiver, but a crappily copied barrel. I don't know. I don't know. That's just me though.
Yeah, I know. I mean, that's kind of when those TGI imported FEG guns came into AMD 65s. I jumped all over them. Actually, I sold a good number of them over the years. And those are cool because they were all FEG parts. And that was pretty cool. But yeah, an AMP 69 would be
ideal.
Killer.
Yeah, that'd be just fantastic.
Okay. But Glock and I were talking about the SLR 100H. Mm-hmm. That's a badass Hungarian mill gun. I mean, they're awesome, and they've been so undervalued for so long. And because we're also important now, they're going to jump to like $3,000, right?
Yeah. Well, one really rare gun. It's like unobtainium. Just like the rarest thing ever. Not even Glock has one, but I've got one. The OPAP. You ever heard of that?
You have no idea. I could not talk people into buying those. People didn't want them. I had people actually buying NPAPs over those.
Why?
You have no idea. Back in the 2014 time period, maybe 2015, the internet hive mind, as I call it, thought the NPAP was better because the OPAP was built from, surplus parts, mostly the furniture.
Yeah.
Oh, but the NPAP comes with brand new furniture.
Oh my Christ!
Well, you're missing an important detail,
also,
Misha.
This is what I found hilarious as well. At that time, the OPAPs had the little crest on the buttstock, the one that people pay money for now. Back then, people talk shit about it. Oh, that's not a Yugo crest. That's a Serbian crest. Don't buy that. They just put that on for commercial purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It's coming out of Serbia, so what's the... So, long story short, I bought a pair, one for me, one for my friend Marty. His actual name is Ace, but he hates it when I call him Marty, so I do. I bought us a matching set, and they cost $25 shipping and $500 per gun. Yeah, back then, I wouldn't say no one wanted them, but they were kind of there was a big debate, OPAP or NPAP.
Yeah, everybody wanted the NPAP. I remember that. I ended up getting...
Don't forget.
But it's super rare now. Glock missed the boat. Now they're selling for like $11 million.
Yeah, just tonight before I was waiting on your call for the stream, and a guy called me. Is $12.50 a good price for an OPAP? And I said, to me, no. I mean, with Zastava USA hopefully coming a thing, maybe they'll do another OPAP variant soon. So I wouldn't pay $12.50, but that's just me. But at the same time, I have to be honest. The OPAP is one of my top 6 favorite AKs. When I did that video last year, it made it out of the top 6 because it's an awesome gun and it runs like a clock.
Mm-hmm.
But don't forget though, the OPAP doesn't have the correct XY dimples for the trigger pins, but the NPAP does.
Actually, I think we've had this debate. The 1.5 Gustavo receivers don't have XY stamps. Any of them, even the military.
Huh.
No, I was just chiming in with that whole. That was the argument when it was the
I know
NPAP
you
versus
are.
the OPAP.
We've had this. I know you know. And to be honest, I didn't know that either. And in one of my older videos, I pointed that out. But then a very helpful subscriber pointed out that the military guns with the 1.5 mil receivers do not have the stamp, which makes perfect sense because if you look at a 1.5 mil RPK receiver, that they do not either. So.
Yeah, they don't need it because the receiver's wall is thick enough.
Yeah, because the whole point of the XY stamps is to reinforce the pinholes, just for the same reason as the dimples are there to reinforce magwell. Yeah. We always learn, guys. I mean, Rick, I don't know. I didn't make this stuff. I've been at it 20 years and just what I've learned. And to be honest, I have a big directory of TXT files. I'm very complicated like that. And I plug little pieces of info in when I learn it. And if it's wrong or needs updating, I change it.
Yeah.
It's no miracle. It's just research. It's just at the end of the day, it's because I care. It's to know what I can know. I love learning things.
Me too. That's why I've been watching the Mishaco channel for so long.
Well, I remember the.
Poor son of a bitch.
I remember.
I'm trying to give Jay more of a compliment on that part, but
fair enough. Then then all credit.
Here's the thing though. If Jay ends up hearing this later, I like some of the stuff Jay does. Like I thought those spray paint.
I've been on him for years. Here's the thing about Jay. He had a job a few years ago where he could not be more involved, but his newer job, which is still kind of firearms related, he's getting more involved and he's getting more, in line. So I've been on him for that for the last ever since we started.
So, I mean, you my goodness. You made the comment that you learn something all the time. Does anything not impress you about the AK? I mean, like when I hold an AK, I hate to say this, but when I hold an AK, just a run-of-the-mill AK, like one of these assemblers, and from XYZ, mom and pop shop, hands me an AK and says, "Hey, what do you think of this?" I look at it, and there's nothing really fancy about it at all. I mean, does anything not impress you about an AK?
Honestly, lots of things. I mean, it's a relatively crude design. Really, I would have to get, kind of dog more the 7.39 cartridge more than the gun itself, because if you put a 5.56 or 5.45 in it, it becomes a better gun. But the 7.62 cartridge is very 1940s.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. You put the 5.45 cartridge in that thing, and that thing becomes a unbelievably different rifle. I mean the way
Agreed.
the way the muzzle and everything is, the way it behaves, the abuse that you get from shooting it, it's far different than shooting a 7.62 by 39. And like you said, it's 1940s technology. You know, the 7.62 by 39. And I hate to say it, but yeah, you're kind of on the right track on that. The 7.62 by 39 is not the round to have. Well, not necessarily the round to have, but
It has
um,
its use. Other if it didn't have its uses, we wouldn't have 300 Blackout, which is essentially an AR-15 version of that cartridge
yeah,
for close to medium range. But otherwise, yeah, I mean the way the projectile goes, it's definitely dated.
yeah.
But it does its job very well. Close to medium range, it's fine.
Well, it's like the 7.62 by 54R. I mean, it's a that round is. Somebody was telling me the other day that's the oldest cartridge still in service. The 7.62 by 54R.
That makes sense. I would agree.
That's crazy. That's a long time.
Well, what's interesting about the
Mosin was
54R?
adopted in 1891. Ostensibly, the cartridge existed at least in prototypical form before that.
Yeah.
You can say that some British 303s are still being used, but the thing is, 7.62-54R is still actively used. The SVD, the Dragunov, is still actively in service, as is the PSL
Yeah,
and so on.
it's their light machine gun round. You know.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, yeah, it's well over 120 years old for sure. Nearly 130. Good grief. I'm getting old.
Yeah. No, you're just getting wise.
No, I'm just old. But yeah, it's what other rifle cartridge? 9mm is close.
Mhm.
It's not that much younger, but 9mm Luger Parabellum is a little bit different from 9mm NATO, which we have today. At least the loading changed. But then again, you could argue that 7.60, 54R changed as well. So, there's that. But
Yeah.
oh, I can't.
Oh yeah, because we've gone from the M43 to more commonly now the M67 load is what we're seeing in a lot of the commercial ammo.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had shut the office door, and she did not like that. Did you, hobo?
That's the famous cat in all your videos.
Some of them, yes. She's around.
I think
I
think it's funny when the cat just comes out of nowhere and just bumps the camera.
But why not?
Yep. It's like
it's their house. We just live here.
yeah. I've got 2 outdoor cats and I've got 2 indoor cats.
And she just jumped over me. She's like 13, 14 years old, so it's kind of. I'm just happy when she can still move and do her thing.
Yeah. Yep. Well, let's see if we can't get another question in. And I mean, we've been on for 2 hours, just a little over 2 hours. If anybody has a question, we can ask. If not, then we can kind of wrap it up here. And I have a little bit of work I need to do in the morning, and that just came in. So, unfortunately. Misha, is there anything that you'd want to say to anybody out there just wanting to get into AKs or Anything like that?
No, I mean not really. I mean, I haven't seen a better alternative to the Wasser. So yeah, well, it's around $700. That's what it is. There's not a proven a below that. So if you want one, get one of those. You know, the Arsenal SLR 107 is fine, but it doesn't really excite me. I think for that kind of money, I'd just frankly get the WBP. But full disclosure, the guys over there are really cool guys. I got to meet them when we did that interview, and I just like what they have to say. And I've had their gun for going up on a year come this May, so it's held up well. So I don't know. Looks like today you're not going to get an AK less than $700.
Yeah. Yeah. Glock.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Glock.
I'll say for me, I'm just kind of. I'm not saying this to rub it in, guys. I swear I'm not. But I'm just glad I got into the AK years ago because I'm getting so bored of what the current offerings are, and I own many Wassers. So if you don't own a Wasser, buy one. But how many Wassers can you own? And it's like I'm really excited. Misha might have the only video I think on all of YouTube about this new KUSA, carbine so-called that could be turned into an SBR, and that's starting to kind of interest me again, guys. So hopefully, new variants. Because I mean, again, how many Wassers can you buy at the end of the day? So I love the AK, but I like to talk about all the older ones. So
Well,
five.
yeah. Well, when we got into it, we had. I mean, it was like a bag of Skittles when we got in, and now you look at the bag of Skittles that is offered. It's only the reds and the orange, and that's it. And who wants to eat red and orange all the time? You want all the colors. You want all the flavors. You want to taste that rainbow. Metaphorically.
Yeah, Michael Jackson. It's just the AK is the AK. I guess because I've already been through this whole song and dance with the FAL before, and the FAL is still a gun, and I still have them. I guess I'll shoot them. Parts aren't really an issue. But when guns aren't made here, I think people want permanency. They want something that's forever.
Mm-hmm.
And life doesn't give us that. Nothing stays around forever. Nothing's here forever.
Francis Pedros asks, has Misha seen the show Apote? Apote? Hacking that up, I'm sure.
That's an anime show.
Misha hasn't seen anything.
Misha hasn't seen anything. Well, yeah, that's
true.
true.
Like one of the questions about an AK optic, and I said that's not a good question for Misha, right?
Yeah. No. Mike J does ask opinion on optic on an AK or stay with iron sights. I'd say personally stay with your iron sights as long as you can. But once you get a little older and your eyesight starts to wane, obviously you're gonna end up going with an optic. But that's just my train of thought on that because I see a lot of people approaching that hurdle, and that's where they're at with that.
Yeah, all I can contribute is, the side mount riveted to the receiver is very stable, and if installed properly,
yeah,
it's a good. The whole gas tube, I'm dubious of, but then again, I disassemble my guns for cleaning, so I don't know. I like scope bases that are permanent. So says me, who has absolutely no reason or authority to talk on that whatsoever.
Yeah. Well, there are variants that have the optic rail grafted onto the rear sight block, so the Brielle is like that too.
Yeah, the Brielle system is a great solution to their particular issue, because the reason they went to that was because they couldn't do the side mount for the selector switch on the left side.
Yep.
So yeah, you're right. The barrel mount is a great solution. It seems to be very repeatable, but not many guns are outfitted for that mount system, unfortunately.
No. And, you know, unfortunately, well, if you wanted to use the mini barrel, what version is it? Yeah, it's the mini barrel. They have a little mini rail that actually bolts onto the rear sight block. And if you had,
I've got one here.
yeah, there's two different actually there's four different variations of that rear sight rail. But if you have a gunsmith, they can graft it in, but your sight block has to be the right style sight block in order to even allow that.
And you have to have those notches perfectly straight weld.
Yeah.
But it's
Mike J asked the
for
interesting
a mini
question.
gun, it's probably pretty good. For a mini, little close quarters gun.
Misha, Mike J wants to know, is there any more models of rifles coming in from WBP that you could talk about, or that's common knowledge?
No, nothing official yet, but, it's winter over in Eastern Europe, so not a whole lot's happening. They mentioned maybe doing like an RPK. The one I'm kind of happy and hoping they do is a milled. They themselves mentioned doing a milled gun, so that might be neat. Of course, they also mentioned perhaps a SVD type clone, or who knows. They are a civilian company, so maybe if IO is equivalent to Pioneer Arms, perhaps, they're more equal. WBP is more equal to Palmetto State or something. It seems like they're at least responsive and care. I'm not saying they're going to get it right, but they honestly seem to be trying really hard. So we'll see.
Yeah. Well, back when they were Gauge, because everybody's like, oh, cast, gotta get rid of that cast. That's junk. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm just going to crank a bunch of rounds through it and just beat the heck out of it. And I ended up taking it to a bachelor party. So, I just let them do whatever with it.
I watched your videos on that.
Yeah, I mean, that was a while ago. And unfortunately, those videos can't be on YouTube because stupid terms of service. Man, I can't even talk about that stuff anymore. But anyway, no, it's yeah, it looks like the stream dropped. It does it for Glock too. Oh, there. Okay, yeah, you're right. It's on. But anyway, no. As far as the WBP stuff, I've always had good interactions with the individuals that own the place, and they've been very receptive to any dumb question that I might have.
They seem very sincere. I'm not going to say they get. You know what? I don't want to. Hate. I haven't heard of any major problems. The only thing is the finish. And trust me, day one when those guns came in, and the second batch, the finish wasn't quite up to the snuff of the first batch. That was a topic. But we're talking about a essentially spray painted finish. You know what? Go to Walmart, get some finish. Shut up. I'm sorry. It's an AK. If the metal's good, who the hell cares about the finish? I'm not saying it should just be completely excused, but if the trunnion's good, if the bolt's good, if everything else is good, if the barrel's good, give a little leeway. But I will say that the importers, Arms America, Atlantic, they are aware, and they've been on WBP's butt to get it better.
Yeah.
But if that's the biggest issue, I'm sorry, the washer has had finish issues. It's not
Yeah.
the end of the world. The Arsenal has had finish issues. It's not the end of the world. People want to have the perfect AK, great finish, 100% straight parts, chrome
Well,
line board.
that's like
All that.
that's like I said earlier. You know, if people saw what AKs really look like, they wouldn't want to buy them. You know, and
Nope.
you know you can tell the difference between somebody who is built off of demilled kits, whether they're saw cut or torch cut. You know, and they have the stubs still on them. You know, you can tell the difference between people that have built off those kits versus the people that have built off ready to put together kits, and the difference is vastly it's just leagues different. And people are like, "Oh no, these rivets didn't crush." You know, when I crush a rivet and it just gets a little wonky on me, as long as it's seated, I don't care because
As long as it does the job of rivet. Do you think people building Liberty ships in World War II examine the rivet? If it does its job,
oh
fine.
yeah,
Building,
it's there. That's good. Yeah.
it's there. I've seen so many monsters, even Segas, even oh my God, Peppers, which is the ideal now with a little bit wonky or dimpled or mushroomed or whatever. Get over yourself. If the gun is safe to shoot, but that's the thing is this is the problem. People have made such a big deal out of cosmetics. Companies like Century have devoted all this time and energy into making the Brass 47 and now the Visca look good. They've neglected, is it durable? Is it safe? We've put too much time into cosmetics. Take a step back and think about functionality.
Yeah. Yep. I'm completely with you there. I mean, as far as some of these companies, that's all they want. They are only concerned about the optics of a situation, and the rest is, the rest is just what it is.
Because that's what sells. If you have a rack and a Cabela's or an Academy or a Dunham's or whatever, if it looks good, guys are going to buy it, take it home. Probably won't shoot it for 6 months. In a year, the warranty's over. Who cares at that point? This is what's going to happen. Mark my words. Years are going to go by, and the crap guns, there'll be more and more and more reports of them failing in one way or another. Because a lot of these things, they're not built to last. Or you'll see a ton of these guns that had never really been inspired that still are fine, but again, they're ticking time bombs in and of themselves.
Yep.
Meanwhile, the lowly old Wasser, the lowly old Mac 90, and make no mistake, before the Wasser, the Mac 90 was the gun that everyone crapped on. They're fine. They're absolutely fine.
Yep. No, I remember people, when they would convert them, they'd 922R them, and the first thing that they would do is they'd switch out the trigger and the hammer and the disconnector. Well, when they do that, the Tapco trigger or the Tapco hammer would destroy the tail of the bolt. And it's like, what? No way. But yeah, no, it was just mushrooming the bolt.
Yeah, funny. The whole Tapco thing dates back to Arsenal USA.
Yeah.
And Gordon Tech. The whole way back. It all dates back to that. But yeah, the geometry is not quite right, but it's been perpetuated over the last 20 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I actually did.
I will say I do like the FIME, the modern FIME trigger group, pretty well.
Yeah. Well, there are trigger groups out there that are $200 and $300 for the AK, and call me an AK guy, but that is ridiculously expensive for a trigger in a gun that's not worth that much. I mean, it's like polishing a. It's like putting lipstick on a pig. I mean,
There's
I mean,
no
do
reason. There's no reason any trigger group needs to be $200 or $300. Chris sent me a what was it, Timney or whatever trigger from my Devore because I wasn't the original Devore, not the X95,
yeah,
and I don't like it. I as heavy as the trigger pull is with the original, it goes bang every time. If you start making those fancy trigger groups, you sacrifice some. Mechanical force, physics can't be cheated.
no,
And what I noticed with a lot of those trigger groups, they put a light spring in them. Sure, it feels good when you're dry firing, but if you're trying to shoot real ammo, military or steel cased or whatever, it doesn't go. But it's like I don't know. It's like having an extra soft tissue for jacking off versus having sex.
yeah, no,
Who cares? Who cares how dry firing feels? It's what when you're at the range that matters.
yeah. Well, and in a combat situation, you're not worried about how heavy your trigger pull is.
Nope.
You're
More than many times we've had guns that tell me, here just dry firing, but when you got to the range, you never noticed it.
Yep.
Many reasons.
well, yeah. I mean, after shooting 5,000 rounds, though, you tend to notice it, but then again, your shoulder and everything else notices it as well. So
Yeah,
it's not really one thing you can pinpoint.
And what gun is meant, what person is meant to shoot 5,000 rounds in one single day? At most, in a single range day under normal conditions, you're looking at 500-600 rounds.
Yeah.
On a normal day. Can you physically shoot 5,000 rounds? Sure. But that's an endurance test.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yep. All right. Well, hey, Glock. I think we're gonna give up a little bit soon here. The stream here. I mean, it keeps buffering. People are complaining that it's buffering. I can rescue it on my end, but YouTube is just not playing ball. I mean, I haven't noticed any dropping, but it's dropped on my end twice. And but anyway, Misha, it was good having you on. Hopefully you weren't out. I mean, it didn't sound like you were out of your element at all. I mean, you were just like rolling with the punches. but
It's just I told the wife I'd be busy for about 2 hours, so she's okay with it. She's but yeah, it was whatever,
Well,
my opinion is worth exactly what anyone paid for it.
yeah. Well, you're more than welcome to come back anytime you want if you want to hang out with the guys and everything.
And if you need that selector switch for a early burrito or late tanto, shoot me up. I'll see if I've got anything in the parts bin.
All right, excellent. Thank you. Glock, you're still on there, I'm sure. You want to help close out? Just give the guys words of advice and wisdom. It doesn't look like we're buffering at all right now, so if you want to talk about
Yeah, I had a lot of fun tonight, guys.
I had a lot. Yeah.
I learned talking to two of my good buddies, so hopefully you guys had fun. Just felt like you're hanging out with buddies, and I'm really glad to get to hang out with you guys, and I really appreciate you coming on, Misha. I always like talking to you about these things.
Yeah, we've been talking about it for a bit. That and the PM63, that whole thing.
Yep. That's one thing.
Oh yeah.
That's one thing that I liked about tonight. It's just, I mean, it's not. I tried to make it to where we had little topics, but more so than not, it's like, hey, we're a bunch of guys. We're just sitting here having a good conversation with friends, and that's all there is to it. So, if you guys have any questions or comments,
And yeah,
feel free to ask them in the questions thing below. Go ahead, Glock.
oh, I do have a shooting video of my PM63, guys, and I'll be posting that any day now. I'm just not an editing guy, so I'm still trying to put it together. But there is a shooting video, and I will tell you guys, I'm just as happy with mine as Misha is. So thumbs up right now on the PM63C, and you guys will see my video soon of the shooting. So
Excellent. Misha,